He didn't help it. Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul is firing back at his party's interventionist wing, saying those who supported the Iraq war embolden Iran. I would agree with that. In Meet the Press interview on Sunday, 2016 presidential hopeful and libertarian icon responded with an op-ed by responded to an op-ed by Dick Cheney criticizing the handling of the situation in Iraq. I think the same question should be asked of those who supported the Iraq war, Paul said. You know, were they right in their predictions? No. Were there weapons of mass destruction there? Well, that one's up in the air, is it not? Because I thought no, but then I heard on Friday that again the press is reporting that ISIS has their hands on chemical weapons and a chemical weapons factory. So I don't know what the truth is on that one. Was democracy easily achievable? No, I was definitely wrong on that one. Was the war won in 2005 when many of these people said it was won? No, I don't know who said it was won in 2005. They didn't really, I think, understand that civil war would break out. Paul added that he doesn't blame the president for the ongoing turmoil in Iraq, but he questions whether the president has a solution to the crisis, during which Sunni militants from the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, have seized vast territory and pushed the Iraqi military back to the outskirts of Baghdad. And what's going on now? I don't blame President Obama. This is ridiculous. Has he got the... Go ahead.
Isn't this kind of like a part of your job, though? Like, whether you agreed with the war when you started, yes, part of your job is to manage what's going on now. I don't agree with the Department of Education, but if the education system is bad and I'm president, I'm going to be held responsible for it.
Not in this case.
Well, the president has decided that he's just going to check out. He says maybe there is no solution. This is according to Rand Paul. But I do blame the Iraq war and the chaos that is the Middle East. I also blame those who were for the Iraq war and emboldening Iran. Those are the same people now who are petrified of what Iran may become, and I understand some of their worry. Some of their worry? I have to tell you, I have a growing discomfort with Rand Paul. Even though I think I agree with Rand Paul, we need to get out of the Middle East. I agree that we don't intervene in this. I agree. It's too late. We blew it. We were wrong in the first place, I believe, because you cannot give people freedom. I really thought that people would stand up and defend themselves when given the chance of freedom, but they don't. And not everybody is the same. And so that's fine. Well, everybody is the same, but not everybody has the same understanding or love for freedom. And so that's fine. But it is too late. And so I agree with Rand Paul. Get out, get our troops back home, and stop the intervention from all around the world. I agree with that. But there's just something wrong here. I don't know what it is yet, but I don't trust it.
Yeah, well, one of the things wrong with this statement is, all of what you just said is true. But this president has contributed to this mess in a big way because of the way he's handled Iraq. It's completely gone to pieces now, and everybody told him it's going to go to pieces if you do this, and he did it anyway.
It's not only Iraq. It's Syria. It's Egypt. It's Tunisia. It is Libya. If the president hadn't been so awful on all fronts, you wouldn't have this call for a caliphate. But he has been so awful and so wrong on every single place. And did you see what John Kerry said about this weekend? You know what his big priority is? To get a bisexual and transgendered ambassador before he leaves office. I'm not kidding you. That is an actual quote.
Yes.
That before he leaves office, his goal is to get a bisexual or and transgendered ambassador appointed.
Yeah.
What is wrong with us?
Or lesbian.
That's your priority?
You left out lesbian. He wouldn't mind having a lesbian.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Well, I think the way you choose an ambassador should be based on sexuality. Right. I think that's number one.
Yeah.
And then you look at can they talk
Judge
to
a
people
man
in
by
other countries?
content of his character?
No.
Out,
you want either a lesbian,
right.
a bisexual, or a transgendered ambassator.
I just thought it was,
or questioning.
Do the content of character thing.
Because content.
Or questioning.
You got to have the questioning person, right? So
yeah, well, you have to have.
I mean,
of course you do. Of course
why?
You do.
How do you continue to function as a Secretary of State after having said something like that? Why haven't you already been removed?
I don't know. When the world is melting down, really,
Jeez.
I really think that transgendered people are an awful lot just like me. That, I don't know, I'd kind of like my freedom. I'd kind of like to not be at the end of Sharia law. Mm-hmm. I'd like the world to be kind of a safe place. I really don't think the priority of the State Department should be to put a bisexual trans. Now, if there's a whole lineup of people who are like, well, I'm super qualified for this. This is what I do. My gosh, this is what I've been doing my whole life. I have trained to be the best ambassador on the planet, and they happen to be the best ambassador. Good, take them. I don't give a flying crap.
Yes.
This is what you're concentrating on?
And this is an indication, the way he said that, is that has no, role. He's not saying, look, we look for the best person, and that person happened to be transgendered. His goal is, I want a transgendered person there.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're like looking for something, even if they're not the best person, you're looking for someone who is some sexuality or some trait that you wanted. It's identity politics to the worst degree.
It's totally unbelievable. And let me go to the president. Let me go back and look at the situation in Iraq. Listen to this two-step that the president is dancing to when asked and pushed about, hey, what happened in Iraq? Listen to this.
Because you said that the war was ended in Iraq. Yeah. You said Al-Qaeda was decimated. Yeah. You said it was stable.
It was. But just because something's stable 2 years ago or 4 years ago doesn't mean that it's stable right now. It is ultimately going to be up to the Iraqi leadership to try to pull the politics of the country back together again. In the meantime, we've got an organization, ISIS, that has the ability to, at least right now in western Iraq, cause a lot of havoc and violence.
And that's Mika Brzezinski asking that, pretty good question. Yeah, I thought you said it's all stable.
Did you see that he's called for the prime minister now to be ousted? It amazes me that every time there is conflict anywhere, and especially when it's the Muslim Brotherhood's side, the president immediately calls for the president or the prime minister to be ousted. Immediately. We need somebody more friendly, in there. Excuse me? Somebody more friendly? What is going to happen? I mean, the complaint the president has about Maliki, or whatever his name is that he is not as friendly to ISIS as he could be. And he's not as friendly to Iran as maybe he could be. They need somebody else that is stronger on both the Sunni and the Shia side? Do you not understand how the world works at all, Mr. President? Really? And so the president is again calling for the destabilization of the government. How is... And Rand Paul doesn't think he's responsible for anything? Rand, is this your first day at the bakery here? Is that your first day smelling a really bad cake? What the hell is wrong with you?
And Glenn, I'm no foreign policy expert or anything, but wouldn't this all be solved in Iraq if we just had a transgendered prime minister?
Wow. Yeah, or bisexual.
No, not transgendered, bisexual. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would bisexual.
A lesbian would help too.
A lesbian,
questioning.
A questioning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think just questioning would be much better.
What about a pansexual?
And forget about
minister?
the qualifications. Mm-hmm. Pansexual would be very good, but I think we have a few of
harder
those
to
already.
find.
We have a few pansexuals.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he said in that speech, that he has appointed how many already? He's got the whole rainbow except for a couple.
Oh, does he?
I don't think he has a pansexual, honestly. No, he does. He has a whole rainbow. I just saw it this morning. Let me see if I can.
So that's why he didn't mention
look for
gay.
a count.
It was only lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered. Maybe we already have questioning. Maybe that's why he didn't mention questioning.
I don't know, but he said, I think we have like 8. He was saying, well, you join the ranks now of 8, and He actually, I think, said that he has a bisexual or a transgendered. At the same time, he said, and I wanted you to meet the spokesperson who is also, I think, transgendered. And she's the first person to come out that's, in the State Department that's transgendered. And let's hear it for her. Could we please talk about Iraq? I mean, is it just me here? The world's on fire. Could we talk about his or her skirt maybe a little later, possibly?
It's insanity. It's insanity. Oh, he did say 6 openly gay U.S. ambassadors currently in service. So
yeah,
you got that going for you.
Well, good for you. And who's counting? And who? Oh, apparently
the State Department.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We were just talking in the break about Rand Paul's strategy, and I don't even understand Rand Paul's strategy. I don't. I mean. There's been many things that he has done, from standing with Mitch McConnell, which I don't understand. Maybe that was a strategy thing. Okay, well then you're hacking off your Tea Party people and you're embracing the GOP, and then you go against Dick Cheney and the Iraq War, which I understand, but you do it in such a way that I think alienates again the people who might vote for you, and on the right, and then on top of it, then you embrace the president and saying, "Hey, it's not his fault." It was his fault. He has to manage it. It's not. You still have to manage. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to agree with it, but you have to manage it. And he clearly didn't manage the Middle East. The guy has been wrong every step of the way. So I don't even know. I don't know who's advising him. It's like he's cutting to the left. Before he has any support in the right. I mean, and I'm a libertarian. I'm a guy who would rather vote for a guy like Rand Paul right now than a guy who's in the GOP. I mean, I know he's in the GOP, but I would rather have a libertarian GOP guy than a regular GOP guy. And I don't even understand it. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Every time he opens his mouth, it seems to piss me off.
If this happened after the primary, then he won the nomination, you might understand it from a political strategy standpoint. He's reaching out maybe across aisles. I don't understand it before primary. And the only thing, I mean, maybe you explain it by just, this is what he believes, and he's being honest about it. And if that's true, I applaud him. However, I don't know if it's going to help him during the primary season.
Not going to help with me, especially the illegal immigration stance, where he's pushing for the comprehensive immigration, basically amnesty program of the president, and then he defends the president on Iraq. It's bizarre, and you're right, Stu. It would make more sense if he'd won the nomination already, and now he's trying to woo Democrats or right-leaning Democrats.
I agree with. I'm glad that he's what you're saying is maybe he really believes in these things. Well, then I have a problem, because he really believes in Mitch McConnell.
Yeah,
really.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
That doesn't really seem to make any. Yeah,
maybe he'll come on and
make a lot of sense.
Maybe he'll come on and talk about it, because he's had an interesting last month or two. He really has.
Yeah,
should invite him on.
We
again.
asked him to come on last week, and the senator was a little busy to talk about the things we wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. So we'll wait until he's not busy, so we can talk about some of the things that I think the American people want to talk about. But he should free up some time soon, I'm sure, and we'll be able to have him on and ask him some questions, because I don't understand where he's going, and I don't know who's advising him, but maybe he's going for a different voter than our audience.